In this video, we're going to really quickly talk about HTML because before you can really get into web scraping, you have to understand how HTML works. So, if you haven't heard of HTML before, it's basically the format of how websites are displayed. You will have a HTML script that looks something similar like this. And this basically is sent when you access a website, you get an HTML file, and then your computer, your browser reads that file. It goes through the scripts and then this script will tell it how to display information on your browser. So if I run this, if I go into our editor here, you see that we have this simple HTML code over here and then the corresponding output that we have. So I can do something, for instance, this is header 1. I can say this is the title, and then you can see that edits it over here. I can say my text goes here. Oops. This is the title, my text goes. And if I run that, that edits over there. Maybe I want to add some section headers, so I can add a new element called, I'll add a header 3. And then if I want to add an element, I need to make sure that it begins with these greater than and less than signs, and I have an opening marker, and then I'll have this closing marker that is identical to the opening marker, only it has this backslash in it to represent that the element is ending. And any text I put in between this element will be displayed. So I'm just going to say put this as topic 1, and then I'm going to copy this element and put that underneath that. Maybe I can copy this several times. Topic 2. But you see, when I run that, I just added new elements to a page. So this is the basics of how HTML works. Essentially, you will have elements, and then within those elements, you will have content that goes within it. One good way that it's you don't really see this here, but I want to show the cascading nature of elements and the child element the hierarchy of a page. So I'm going to just add some indentions here. And so you can see that our main element is HTML. That is our main element, and then it has all this content in here. The two things that HTML has in its content are head, which represents whatever is set up here, and then we have body, which represents what is projected on your browser, or what we're seeing here. And so we see the child, so the two child elements of HTML are head and body. Head has one child element, which is the page title, and then body has several child elements. It has a header 1, a paragraph, a header 3, another paragraph, and then another header 3 and another paragraph. So it's important to understand this child-parent relationship in HTML when web scraping, because something that you're going to be doing when web scraping is you are essentially going to want to get a very specific element from a website. Say, like, if I wanted to web scrape this element, what I would have to do if I wanted to get topic 1, if I wanted to get the text for that, or what I'd have to do is I'd first have to tell my code, okay, get this HTML page and I'll get this HTML page. And then I would want to say within the body, I'd first want to find the body. And then within the body, I would want to find element, I'd want to find header 3 and then return back anything that is header 3. And I'll run that code and it'll return this element and this element. And I just want element 1, so I'd specify that I want the first item in that list of elements that it returns, and then I would use a function that tells me to get the text from this element. So this is a really simple example, but I want to show you what the HTML of a more complicated page might look like. This is a Wikipedia page on the world population. We'll be doing an exercise on extracting some data from this page in just a moment. But if I right click on this page and I go down to page source, what happens is I get a view of the HTML code. And as you can see, it can be very complicated. But what I'll be doing when I'm web scraping is I'll get this code and then I want to search through based off different elements to be able to get the data I want from it. An easier way I can go about doing this is I can press F12 on my computer, or I can right click and press inspect. And what this will then allow me to do is I can still look at the web page while viewing the HTML. So let's say like this table, for instance, I'm interested in this table here. You can see that this highlights the cascading nature, where we have this row, and then this row has a bunch of values as its children. And then this is all part of tBody, which is part of this table. Just for fun, I am going to copy this element back into our HTML environment that we have here. And if I run that, you see that by copying this table element, I now have a table element in our HTML environment. And so if I wanted to, for instance, pull this table, let me indent this so it is properly, it's showing the parent-child relationship. If I wanted to get this table from, say, this website that we just created here, and I wanted to, so I could get the values in it, what I'd have to do is I'd have to first get a request to this website. And then once I get the request, I want to get the content of this website. I want to get everything that is in this body element. And then I'd tell it to look for a table with this specific class. And then I want to get all the values within that table. And then I can pull that into my environment and work with this data. But that is all the basics that you will need to know about HTML before we jump into web scraping.